Okay, picture this for a second. Close your eyes if you can, unless you're driving. Please don't do that. But just imagine you're on this gorgeous teak terrace. There's a warm, sort of salt-laced breeze coming off the Andaman Sea.
Hmm.
And you're looking out over an infinity pool that just seems to drop right into the ocean. Cold drink in your hand. It's quiet. It's peaceful. That's the dream, right? Owning a piece of paradise in Phuket.
It is the absolute dream. It's the postcard we all have, stuck in the back of our minds.
Yeah.
But as we know, dreams can get pretty expensive pretty quickly if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And in the property world, that dream can, well, it can turn into a nightmare faster than you can say structural damage.
Exactly. And that is where reality just hits you. Because how do you actually buy that villa without, completely overpaying? Or how do you navigate a real estate market in a foreign country, different language, different laws, without getting stuck in some legal mess?
It's a real fear, and the rules are just different there. It's not like buying a place in Chicago or a flat in London.
So today, we are going to fix that. We are doing a deep dive into the specific, actionable strategies for negotiating real estate deals in Phuket. And we're not just talking about, haggling over a souvenir at the night market.
I know.
This is high-stakes market intelligence and, frankly, a lot of emotional discipline.
Right. And what's so great about this deep dive is where the info is coming from. We are not just guessing here. We're not pulling tips from some random travel blog.
No.
We are pulling these insights directly from Ocean worldwide. They're a luxury real estate agency based right there on the ground in Phuket.
And they're not new to the game either.
Not at all. They've been operating in Phuket since 2004.
Wow.
Yeah, that is over 20 years of experience. I mean, think about that. They've seen the market through global recessions, tourism booms, through everything.
That is huge. So we're really talking about strategies refined by Sandra O'Neill. She's the director of the agency, and she has personally helped thousands of families and investors navigate this exact market. So this isn't theory. This is what works.
And that context is so vital because, as I said, buying property in Thailand requires a shift in your mindset. You can't just apply the logic you'd use back home. We need to look at market dynamics, the psychology of the seller, and, the boring due diligence that, spoiler alert, is what actually saves you millions.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the lay of the land. Because I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking Phuket is just one big beach.
That's the first mistake right there.
Dang.
They treat it like some generic holiday spot. They just think, I'll buy a place in Phuket, as if the whole island is the same. But Phuket is a serious investment player with really distinct micro markets. You've got year-round sun, established tourism, so rental demand is high. But the value and the entire vibe, it changes drastically depending on where you are.
Right. So based on the data from Ocean Worldwide, let's break down some of these neighborhoods. If I'm looking for high-energy nightlife, that sort of city-by-the-beach feel, where am I looking?
That's got to be Patong. It's vibrant, it's busy. If you want high rental turnover from, say, the party crowd, that's your spot. The demand is huge because of the tourist numbers, but it's mainly condos and hotels. It can be noisy.
Okay, so Patong is the engine room. But what if I'm bringing the family? I want a villa, maybe near a beach, but I do not want a nightclub thumping next door until 4 a.m.
Then you're pivoting. You're looking at Kata or Coron. These areas are much more family-friendly, great infrastructure, good restaurants, beautiful beaches, but the pace is, slower, still high demand, but a totally different kind of tenant.
And the really high-end stuff, I'm always seeing these reports about huge estates, golf courses. Where is that?
That would be Bang Tao. That is
Yeah.
the upscale spot. Think of it as, the Hamptons of Phuket.
Yeah.
It's where you find the massive luxury villas, the Laguna complex, the golf courses. It's quieter, more exclusive, and the price tags definitely reflect that.
Got it. Bang Tao for the high rollers. And then what if I want something more relaxed, maybe a bit more authentic?
Then you head south to Rawai. This is where you see a growing expat community. It feels less like a resort and more like a real neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's often a bit more affordable and laid back. The coastline there is a working one, with fishing boats. It has a ton of charm.
So location is step one, but here's where it gets really interesting for me. The price tag itself. Because I feel like in luxury real estate, the asking price is sometimes just a fantasy number, isn't it?
Oh, it often is. And this brings us to the most critical tool we're going to talk about today. Comparable local sales, or comps.
Walk us through that. Why is this so important?
It's simple, but people ignore it because it's work. You cannot rely on the asking price. The asking price is just marketing. It's what the seller hopes to get.
Right.
It's basically meaningless. You need to know what similar properties, same size, same view, does at a pool, what they have actually sold for recently.
Because the asking price tells you the dream, but the sold price tells you the reality.
Precisely. That is where your power comes from. If you know a 3-bedroom villa down the street sold for 20% less than what this guy's asking, you have leverage. You aren't just haggling anymore. You're correcting his math.
So what's the actionable tip here?
Ocean Worldwide is really clear on this. Get an independent appraisal.
Before you even make an offer.
Yes. An independent appraiser looks at the condition, the location, the recent sales data, and gives you an objective number. It's a reality check before your emotions get involved. It costs a little bit up front, but it can save you a fortune.
I love that. Takes the guesswork out. But speaking of reality checks, let's talk about money. Not just the price, but this concept of the absolute financial ceiling.
So critical. Before you even start talking numbers, you need a hard limit, a line in the sand. And it is not just the purchase price.
Right, the hidden costs. What are we looking at in Phuket specifically?
Well, you've got transfer fees, taxes, legal fees. Those can add up to a pretty big percentage. But also, Ocean Worldwide really emphasizes the need for a buffer fund.
A buffer fund, like a rainy day fund.
Exactly, but for the house itself. It's for immediate repairs, furnishings. You don't want to max out your budget on the purchase and then realize you can't afford to fix the air conditioning or even buy a sofa.
That makes so much sense. It's like buying a vintage car. You fall in love with the paint job and how it looks,
Yeah.
but you ignore that the engine needs a complete rebuild. Then you're in a world of pain.
That is a perfect analogy. And in a tropical climate, that engine rebuild is the condition check. The sun, the salt, the humidity. It takes a toll. You have to look past the view. How's the roof? The plumbing? Are the electrics up to date?
And what about future costs? Like, are there big maintenance bills just around the corner?
Exactly. You have to be a bit of a pessimist during the inspections so you can be an optimist when you're living there. You need to know that pool pump isn't going to fail in week 1.
Okay, so we've done our homework. We know the neighborhood. We've checked the engine. We have our hard limit. Now it's time to enter the room. The negotiation.
The dance.
The dance. I like that. Sandra O'Neill and her team describe it not as a battle, but as a structured conversation aiming for a win-win. But that sounds hard when you really, really want the house.
It is hard. And that's why emotional discipline is the biggest trap. It is, hands down, the #1 way people lose money.
How so?
If the seller sees you need that house, if they see you mentally moving your furniture in, you've lost. All your leverage is gone.
So you have to play it cool?
You have to be willing to pause. If you get a counteroffer that, upsets you or you feel yourself getting emotional, just take a break. Walk away for 10 minutes. A calm demeanor signals you're a serious buyer, not a desperate one.
I like that. But being cool doesn't mean being a robot, does it? Because one of the most surprising tips from the source material was actually about connection.
Yes, building rapport. Ocean Worldwide strongly suggests having a coffee with the seller if you can.
Really? Just a coffee?
Just a coffee. Sit down with them. Treat them like a person, not an adversary. Ask them what they enjoyed about living there, Ask about the neighborhood.
It seems so simple, but I guess it totally changes the dynamic. It stops just being about numbers on a spreadsheet.
It does. Empathy creates a connection. If the seller likes you, if they feel you respect their home, it can smooth over some very difficult price discussions later on. It's much harder to be rigid with someone you've had a nice chat with.
So we're building rapport, but we're also doing a little bit of detective work while we sip that coffee.
Always. You have to get inside the seller's mind. You need to find their why.
Why are they selling?
Exactly. That motivation is the key to the price. Are they relocating for a job? That means high urgency, which could mean a better deal for you.
Well,
Are they downsizing? Is it a divorce? An inheritance?
it sounds a bit nosy, but it's leverage.
It's necessary leverage. And this is where local agents are absolute gold mines.
Because they know the gossip.
Well, they know the context.
Yeah.
An agent like Sandra, who's been there for 20 years, knows the stories. You can ask an agent, so what's the story behind this sale? They can often tell you if the seller's under pressure to close a deal quickly.
And you can also just look at the listing history, right?
Yes. Gauging urgency is key. How long has it been on the market? Have there been price drops? If a property's been sitting there for 6 months and the price has dropped twice, you know there's wiggle room.
Okay, we have the leverage. We know they need to sell. Time to make the offer. And the advice here is pretty strict. Don't just scribble a number on a napkin.
Oh, please don't. A professional offer sets the tone. It needs to be formal. It's got to include the price, obviously, but also the deposit amount, the payment schedule, and most importantly, the conditions.
Conditions are the safety net, like subject to a satisfactory building inspection.
Exactly, or subject to mortgage approval. You're protecting yourself in writing. If the inspection finds a leaky roof, you want to be able to back out or renegotiate without losing your deposit.
Now, what about that first number? I feel like everyone wants to start with a crazy lowball offer, Just shake things up.
Yeah, the source explicitly warns against the insultingly low opening offer.
Why? I thought that was just tough business.
It almost always backfires. It just shuts down communication.
Yeah.
If you offer something ridiculous, the seller doesn't think, oh, a tough negotiator. They think, this person is wasting my time. Or worse, they feel insulted.
And that kills the vibe before you even start.
Completely. You want to anchor your offer in reality, using those conks we talked about, so it's low enough to get a deal, but high enough to be taken seriously. You want them to counter-offer, not just slam the door.
Now, you mentioned protecting yourself, and this leads to the non-negotiable team you need. Specifically, a lawyer.
Yes. In Thailand, a lawyer is not optional. I cannot stress this enough.
Why is that? I think in some countries people just use a notary or something.
Because the property laws are completely different. You need someone to verify the title deeds. In Thailand, the highest form of land title is called the shinote. You need to know for sure that the person selling the land actually owns it.
That seems basic.
You'd be surprised. There are different grades of land titles there. Some only give you possession rights, not ownership. A good lawyer checks for the shinote. They also check for liens, any debts attached to the property, and zoning compliance.
Zoning compliance.
Oh yeah, you don't want to buy a villa and find out later it was built on protected land or violate some environmental law. It happens, and if it does, the government can literally tear it down.
That is an absolute nightmare scenario.
Okay.
So, lawyer is key. And obviously, a good agent.
A good agent acts as a buffer. They keep emotions out of it. But more importantly, experienced agents have access to pocket listings.
Pocket listings, what are those?
These are properties that aren't publicly advertised yet. They're not on the websites. If you have a good relationship with an agent, someone like Sandra O'Neill at Ocean Worldwide, they might show you the best deals before they even hit the open market.
That's the inside track. Okay, so we're deep in the negotiation. We've made the offer. We have the lawyer. But sometimes things just don't feel right.
And that is the most powerful tool you have. The ability to walk away.
Knowing when to fold.
You have to be able to spot the red flags. If there are huge price discrepancies, like they're asking way above the comps and won't explain why, that's a flag.
Or if they have unreasonable conditions.
Right. If they refuse to fix a major issue, or they demand an impossible timeline, or, if you just have a seller who will not compromise on anything.
To my way or the highway seller.
Exactly. And in that case, you take the highway. Ocean Worldwide advises viewing a failed negotiation not as a failure, but as market research.
Market research. I like that framing. It makes it feel less like a loss.
Well, it sharpens your skills. You learn something about the market, about your own limits. You're just better prepared for the next one.
Because sometimes the best deal is the one you don't make.
Precisely. There's always another property. You should never fall so in love with a pile of bricks that you make a bad financial decision.
So let's bring this all together. What does this mean for someone listening who is ready to take that plunge?
It means you need to slow down to speed up.
Slow down to speed up.
Yeah. Don't rush into the dream. Do the homework on the comps. Keep a cool head. Hire a lawyer to check that shinote. And spend the time to really understand the seller's motivation. If you do those things, you're not gambling. You're investing.
And you're doing it with your eyes wide open.
Exactly. You want to enjoy that view from the terrace, knowing that the paperwork is clean and you paid a fair price.
Now, I just want to remind everyone that this deep dive was powered by the expertise of Sandra O'Neill and Ocean Worldwide. We've mentioned them, but it's worth repeating. They have been the go-to experts in Phuket since 2004.
That kind of longevity in a foreign market, it really speaks volumes. They aren't some fly-by-night operation. They've helped thousands of people do exactly what we've been talking about.
Absolutely. So if you are looking for luxury real estate in Phuket and you want that 20-plus years of experience on your side, someone who knows the pocket listings, the local laws, and how to negotiate these deals, you should visit oceanwwp.com. That's oceanwggp.com.
Definitely worth a look if you're serious. Having a guide like that just changes the whole experience.
Before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. We talked about walking away, but there's a deeper psychology there.
There is. In any negotiation, the person who cares the least about the outcome always has the most power. It's a paradox. To get the house of your dreams, you have to be perfectly okay with not getting it. So the real question is, can you love a property enough to buy it, but little enough to walk away?
Oh, that is a tough balance to strike. Something to think about while you're scrolling through those villa listings tonight. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.